Hi, good morning. Thank you, all of you, uh, having me here. And yes, whatever I am today, whatever I am talking about cinema today, it's all about my institute, FTII. It is not only about cinema. It is, as a whole, me, the complete personality has changed during my course at FTII, because before that, I had actually no idea about cinema, to be very honest. As Dominic said, I used to watch whatever was available on Doordarshan. We had only Doordarshan then, because my growing up years were a very turbulent time of our state, And I remember watching the first film in theater hall was Ram Teri Ganga Maili. So from there to the Film Institute, and after Film Institute is a long journey of realization, of understanding myself, my people, my land. And that actually has happened only because of the place called FTII. In FTII, it was not only about cinema, as I said, it was more about understanding, more about sensitivity, more about understanding and respecting each other. And it was not only about the world cinema, but cinema of India as well. At FTI, we knew what people of filmmakers of Kerala are making, or what is happening in around. But sadly, there were no reference of Northeast cinema in our syllabus. So it was kind of, like thinking, it pushed me to think like why our cinema is not addressed there. Why we're not talking about cinema of Northeast? Northeast as an umbrella I'm talking about. We are not talking about Ishanu. We are not talking about Ganga Siloni Pakhi. We are not talking about our history of cinema. History of cinema of Assam. It has a glorious history also. Our first film was made in 1935. And we are not discussing that in our film institute at that time. And that was the germination. It was like discovering self. Why, we are talking about film all over the world, other parts of India, but not our part. And it was there, but slowly now things are changing, and there is a new film institute at Arunachal, which is very important, because when we are also here discussing Northeast India. Northeast India is not one, it is very diverse. So we have our own legends, folk tales, folklores, language, dialects, everything. And everything was so buried inside. And one man came into our institute, Mr. Mani Kaul, and he, for very first day, he asked us, 9 of us, our direction students, like, what is direction? What do you direct? So as very common understanding of cinema, we used to answer like directing the cinematographer, directing the script, directing actors. But sir told us, no, you direct yourself. What does it mean? How do we direct ourselves? What to direct? And from there, the whole evolution of understanding self came into realization. Like, we need to understand us first. I need to understand myself first. What am I? How am I? Who am I? And those understanding came not only about my personal journey, but as a society, as everything, socio-political, cultural context together. And from there, my journey of filmmaking has started, and I'm very, very grateful to FTII for that. And now, if we look at cinema of Northeast India, that is what is happening. We are talking about ourselves. We are addressing our own self. We are addressing our personal memories, personal understanding of our space, our people, not merely representation of Northeast India. Thank you.
Yeah, very good, nicely put, Reema. We have almost in most of the state right now, Arunachal Pradesh have a new film institute, Tripura has a state film institute, Assam have its own, and then Manipur, is having a new film institute. I mean, when I was doing my graduation. I didn't even know that Film Institute exists, you know. And then one day, there was this, what you call that, workshop that happened just in front of our schools. And there I found out that there's a Film Institute. And I still feel that lots of Northeastern still don't have that idea of Film Institute. My observation and my questions to all of you is that, you know, there is this popular criticism that's happening about the Film Institute by some filmmakers, where it says that people who pass out from film institutes are not doing good in the industry, you know. And I mean, but when we see, like, there are lots of technicians who are working, and then there is some kind of different kind of orientation that happen in the Film Institute, you know. There's some sort of objectives that the government have for the Film Institute, so that maybe we go back home, and, you know, so maybe, Paban, if you can talk about it, and all of you can put in.
Yeah, I can talk about it, but I think you missed the first question. You should also tell about yourself, a little bit of your journey before this, because you also started from...
Yeah, I'm always in this thing, but today, since I'm moderating, I thought that I'll ask more questions.
It's important because we brought in you because we also need to listen to you.
Yeah, so, yeah, for me, I think, as I said in the introduction, that when I realized there is something called Film Institute that you can go out and study filmmaking, it's completely changed my perspective of telling a story, you know. Like, I came from a oral story background. Like, my grandfathers, my uncles, they are like oral storytellers. We don't have our own script, so we love telling stories, and this is maybe that's the reason why I end up. And as we are exposed to all the popular films and televisions, you wanted to make film like this. Your understanding of cinema was that, you know. And then you go to Film Institute, where you are exposed to all the great works of the filmmakers from all around the world, you know. And then it's like a cultural shock. You start thinking that, is this film, I mean, the film that you watch and the film that you don't understand. When I watch Andrei Tarkovsky's Mirror or Andrei Rublev, I suddenly feel that, could this be cinema, you know? And I couldn't stand to watch that film even for 5 minutes, because it's so different from what I thought cinema is supposed to be. But slowly, when all the preconceived idea of what cinema kind of removed from our perception, it became the film that became the favorite of my life, you know. Then I keep watching again and again and again, and I realized that I don't need to go anywhere. I just need to go home and make my own stories to tell. So film school in that way has truly that space, that freedom to walk around, absorb art and cinema and talk and get drunk with cinema itself, was one of the major things that has changed me, transformed me as a filmmaker, as a human being, you know. So, yeah, I mean, that popular criticism.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Coming back to your this thing, I think it never bothered me, actually. When I went to the film school, I had some other vision in mind, you know. I just wanted to tell stories about Manipur to the rest of the world. You know, those days, I mean, I forgot to mention this. Those days when, you know, I was doing my computer science, you know, BSc computer science, and when I went to Delhi, suddenly realized nobody knows about our region. And the best thing will be to do something else. You know, my family was into theater and other stuff, but then I thought, nobody is doing cinema. So cinema will be an easy medium to communicate. That's how I wanted to tell stories about Manipur, Assam, you know, whatever, you know, to the rest of, not to the rest of the world, to India. Very few people those days knew about these places. So I mean, I never bothered to go to Bombay. My whole, you know, this thing was very different. I think when we passed out, from my batch, I was the only person who went home and, you know, started making films. All my classmates, they all went to Bombay. But maybe what I think the popular notion is, I think they're talking about direction students, not, but in terms of cinematography, you know, other technicalities, I think, yeah, they're doing quite well in Bombay, everywhere in India, you know, even in South. All the technicians are really doing well. And I think what they're saying is about direction students not really doing, you know, living to that expectation. But then I think slowly things are changing. You know, lot of people are actually doing very well in Bombay also, not just into regional cinema. In other languages, I think nowadays there are a lot of people. Maybe my journey is over 2 decades now, so maybe I'm watching everyone, you know, doing so well. Yeah, it's not easy to survive. I mean, survival is always this thing question, but yeah, we don't need much to survive. I think we are able to do, and I'm still here, able to make films. So. Yeah, things are changing, but one thing which we really wanted in film school was to have this, now we have university status. You know, recently it was recognized. I think that was very important. You know, if for someone who wants to pursue cinema academically, you know, if we wanted to do, you know, a PhD or further studies, I still remember my seniors, my juniors, they always used to go outside the country to do that, you know, to pursue academics in cinema. So it's, for us, our course is more like a very practical oriented course. And so that was one thing which we were missing. But then thankfully it's coming. I think from this year, we about SRFTI, FTI and Arunachal Film School, we have university status, and that vacuum is also, filled that way. But frankly, Dominic, I don't care. I mean, whether, you know, it's...
What I'm trying to say is the orientation of film school. I mean, like, it is not... maybe we are orient differently, because even if you see direct...
I think it's, I mean, I also have thought about it many a times. Why we go to film school? Why do we need institutions like FTI, SRFTI, NSD, or whatever, NID, to make a better human being? I mean, so at the end of the day, it's to nurture good human being artists, to make the society a better place to live. So I don't understand this whole thing of, you know, working there. And, you know, I think what the institutes have done very well in terms of bringing in good artists and good human beings. Yeah.
I have something to add here. Basically, what I feel is, you know, I have a serious problem with this, honestly. I have a very strong disagreement with the people who think or say in popular and public platforms against film schools specifically. Because I feel that they don't understand the main idea of a film school. As far as I understand, national film schools were established, not just film schools, but any art school, NSD, for example, FTI, SRFTI, all of these were established not to cater to the film industry, Bollywood, not to cater to the Indian film industry. It was there so that it can diversify. The whole access to making cinema should diversify. People staying in different corners of the country should get access to making or, you know, to the whole film education in itself, which, you know, this whole idea of catering to the industry only is completely against the whole idea of a national film school itself. And when people say about that, they don't consider the people who are, like, for example, you, Dominic Sangma, who has made a film in Garo language, which is not even the majority language of Meghalaya. It is, in fact, the minority language of Meghalaya. And that film goes to France and it's screened for 3 weeks in 150 cinema halls. It's a, you know, that's something which inspires us, you know, to make that there is a possibility. Maybe these people will never consider somebody like Reema Borah, who goes back home and makes 3 feature films constantly and without much support from anywhere. Haobam Paban Kumar, who has been working for so long and making his own films. Payal Kapadia, Mukul Haloi. Nobody will consider all of these people. People from the South who are constantly making films that they really want to make and not cater to a specific industry as such, or cater to something which is not just for making money, the commercial part of it. So I think they don't consider those people. So I have serious disagreement with this whole idea of, sidelining the whole idea of, and the bigger problem is that these people are influential. So they influence people not to go to film school. Suppose somebody like me in Assam, sitting 10 years back maybe in Assam, and hearing somebody so prolific talking against film school will make me so discouraged to even think of going out and studying cinema, and I would have never made a film like this today. So yeah, so that's my perspective on it.
What was the question, Dominic?
Thing is, there is a popular criticism about, film schools, students after passing out not doing well in industry. So things like that. But my observation is that film school have its own orientation. The government have its own objectives for film schools, right? So I want you to expand on both the criticism and the objectives of why.
Thankfully, in the film school, we are not taught to join any industry because we are not workers, to work in industry. We are individual. We are talking about art. We are dealing with something intangible. We are dealing with our heritage. We are dealing with people, for God's sake, or whatever the terms is. Popular, that's why I said God's sake. Or, how, this binary, FTI, SRFTI directors will make films like that, and commercial people will make film like that. There are so many examples I can give. Like film school graduates have made popular films also. But it is very important to consider the direction students of the film schools very seriously, because we are really doing difficult job. Without any financial backup, we are making our films. Ask me how I make my film. Ask Paban how he makes his own film. It is easier to make the film, even easier to make the film, I'm saying, but ask us how we show the film, what is about the return, how we are continuing making films. It's very, very difficult. And we are still doing it only because of our passion for cinema, passion for the art. And that is difficult. Sitting at a convenient place and talking about and discussing, criticizing the direction students of cinema is very easy, I would say. The think about the person who is actually doing it. If you ask me, this is the kind of amount, the budget I'm giving you, go and shoot the beautiful locations of Northeast, put their costume, beautiful ladies, and their food culture and everything, I won't do. Because it is a much responsible job. I would need a perfect time to do that. I would need a detailed research on it. Then only I'll go. So it needs time, it needs a certain kind of understanding, and that understanding will come with a certain kind of education, I'd say. That's why film education is important. It is easy to make a film. It's very easy. You need only 2-3 months to learn about the craft. I was talking to Pawan in the morning, look at us, our generation. We started with 35 mm. When we went to the film school, we started with 35 mm, then 16 mm. And we learned and thought of becoming a film maker with the 35 mm camera. Then suddenly it shifted to the digital. And after passing out, we cope up with the digital filmmaking. We started to making film in digital medium, which made definitely our life easier. And now it is AI. So the fight is continuing in technical front also. Are you getting the point? So film to digital to AI, we are the generation, we are facing it. It is difficult, and it is always easy to talk about the FTI graduate direction, student will make this kind of film, and other filmmakers. This is very limited very limited way of looking at it. This is, I do completely
Not agree.
don't give it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about you don't agree to it or not, but we have to also understand is that lots of direction students passed out from the Film Institute have done some amazing work. Some author has come out. They have changed a cinematic language of even Indian cinema. When you talk about Manikal, Kamal Swaroop, Adur, all this, Janu Barua, all this have also, if the popular cinema is so much against a film school direction pass out, but you have to also see that we need somebody who changed the way the film is being made, It needs to, there should be, the way of looking at life should be different. So these great directors, so many of them, and then lots of young filmmakers who are creating this individual, independent work, which is so different and which is so personal and unique to their own spaces. Okay, my next questions will be, again, coming back to, we, all of us have passed out from the Film Institute, and we have Pavan passed out long time back, you have also passed out long time back, I passed out in 2014, you are just now. So, we as a filmmakers, we have some sort of responsibilities for the community, and we do panel discussion about Northeast cinema and problems and this and that. But in individual level, what are we doing? In your own filmmaking community with filmmakers, or to kind of help support filmmakers, what are you, all of you, doing in your own small ways? Maybe Reema, you can start from.
Yeah, so till 2019, I was very much in Bombay, and I was trying to make my films. After making my first film, Bokul, in 2014, I realized it will be better for me to stay in my native place in make films, And then I moved to Assam, Biswanath Charili, my native place, and I thought of doing lots of things, lots of things. I was young, I was very energetic, and I wanted to change everything. Then I realized that making films may be easier, but creating the audience is the much more difficult thing. In Assam, it is difficult. And then I thought of, organizing filmmaking workshops. So I started with one, Gaze one, and I invited filmmakers like Gurvinder Singh, Payal Kapadia, Ramni, R.V. Ramni, Nistha Jain, and I organized that filmmaking workshop in Biswanath Charili. It was very interesting, people from different part of the country, students, they stayed there in Biswanath Charili, they interacted with the local community. There's this very interesting assimilation, nowadays we all want experience, they want to live life and gather experience, We have every comfort of life money can give, but experience is something we want to personally, live that moments. And creating those moments with art is something unforgettable. So Gaze one was that. We all stayed together in an island, very small island in Biswanath, surrounded by Brahmaputra. We lived with fishermen community, local community. We eat their food, and we discussed Gurvinder's cinema. Imagine, it was very interesting. Then we organized one documentary filmmaking. Documentary is another form of filmmaking, I think very, very important to talk about people, discuss culture, and it is a very interesting form of cinema. So in the second Gaze in Biswanath Charili, Pabho area, that is surrounded by tea gardens, and there we invited R.V. Ramani sir and Soikat Moldi and Siddharth Sinha, Puspender Singh. So they were there, Savita Singh. So they were there, and it was very after Gaze 2, I need again a little bit of fun to continue with the process. Here also capital is taking restricting me. And then I started to make a film festival in Biswanachari in my place, and I organized one festival which was very successful. It was only about Assamese cinema. But then again, you cannot do everything, alone. You need a support system. So constantly changing. The people are going out of the state. That is one very important thing right now. For education, for job, the youngsters are coming out of the native place. So that is one thing. Again, I'm hoping maybe 2026 I'm continuing with Gaze and Film Festival in my own place. Yeah.
Maharishi? You remember the question? Okay.
This question is a little difficult for me because I just graduated.
But what are you thinking about? Like, are you planning to do something?
Yeah.
Because,
So there are lots of plans. Again, there I am very rich. I have a lot of dreams and aspirations regarding this. I have thought about this for a long time. Just before on the day I was graduating, I think I even called you. And I was like, suddenly I felt something very different. I never thought something like that will happen on that day. On the day I graduated, this struck me that there is so much of responsibilities I have, not just as a filmmaker, as an individual. I want to do so many things. What will be possible? What will not be possible? And so many things are difficult. To even make my next film is so difficult. How am I going to even sustain in Assam? All of this started disturbing me. But then I started planning. I have lots of plannings that are there with me. Like, I also want to organize workshops, and I have some specific ways that I want to try. I want to do workshops with children specifically, and and old people. So either retired people and children who are in school. So that is my first thing, because I want to understand them and have a communication with these two complete different generations, and then come to a conclusion at what is the next step towards the workshops and communication thing. But I have been trying to work with a lot of young filmmakers in Assam, like myself, who either are doing good or not yet, but are making and thinking differently. And so I'm writing with a lot of people, trying to read scripts, and in whatever capacity I can help them, trying to connect them with people. And I am looking forward to even get into producing soon, maybe, hopefully, and push films which are new and different, and which are from people who are not that privileged. That is another thing that is there in my mind, which I'm already trying, that I'm really working on. Making more films. Yeah.
Wow, you've already thought all this. That's very good for Assamese cinema. Anyway, when I went back to Manipur, those days, I think I was the only graduate those days. And suddenly I became very important there. Suddenly, you went to a film school. So I became part of Manipur State Film Development Society. And slowly, I was able to bring in people, because I knew what was lacking in Manipur those days. And, we started doing small workshops. And, one good thing about being in a film school, I still remember my mentor, Haobam Sharma, telling me this long time back. So when he started traveling, and actually when he started attending film festivals, being part of national jury and other things, so he felt very out of place, those days. I'm not talking about right now, India is very different now. So those days, very few people, because he didn't, he was very, notice looks very different, look-wise also. So he was a bit out of place. But when you belong to SRFT and FTI, you belong to a certain community, you know. So that was my privilege. I mean, when I go everywhere today, I'm part of FTI and SRFTI, you know, and my community is there everywhere, Bombay, Delhi, Jury, or whatever. So that was one thing which really did good for us, you know, and my community, my friends started coming to Manipur. You know, we started exchanging ideas, and I think that now we have a good ecosystem in Manipur. We also have a film school, state film school, where I am the general body, I'm a council member. Also, I'm the secretary of Manipur Film Society. We screen films. Yeah, we are trying to do a lot of things, but then we also want to have a, you know, the film school is there, but we want to run it properly. So in one of the forums 10 years back, when I was with Manjudi and Utpal Bol Pujari, and they said, you know, we can't compare Manipuri cinema to, you know, Assamese cinema. I said, Dada, wait for 5 years, because those days, Bhupen Hazarika Film School, Dr. Bhupen Hazarika Film School was coming up. And I told them, just see how Assam changes. You know, this education is very important. Education, not just in terms of filmmaking, education as such is also, I think, very important. And now, see where Assamese cinema is today, you know. And also one thing which I'm basically, I think if you look at all of our work, I think I'm basically a documentary filmmaker. And I think for Northeast, I think this is something which comes very naturally. Documentary as a form, as an art form. And coming back to the last question, previous question, I think we need to build an ecosystem for, you know, we all are trying to make films, but it's not easy. We need government support. Earlier, you know, when you used to win a national award, or if your film gets selected for Indian Panorama, at least our films were shown in Doordarshan, and we used to get some money back. You know, art is something where I think you need support. I mean, maybe earlier days they used to have patrons. So at least I think that is also one thing which we really need to talk about. You know, when I started my career, Doordarshan, at least Doordarshan in Northeast, they used to give money to make documentaries. And I still remember 150 to 200 people making documentaries every year because government was giving some money to make films. So now if I look at Manipur, entire Northeast, in the last 5 years, I hardly 10 documentaries came out of Northeast. In the last 5 years, we can say that. But at one point, we were like 300 filmmakers, you know. It may be good or bad, whatever, but that kind of support system we need to discuss. If you look at NSD, National School of Drama, for instance, I still remember my uncle, he's a theater veteran, he told me that, you know, unlike film schools, you know, they look after their students, you know. So if someone passes out from NSD, you know, they make sure he is doing something in life. You know, kya hua, whatever problems they have. But apart from the other, this thing for film schools, once you come out of film schools, you're on your own. That is one thing, except for the community, this thing. But recently, we had our alumni meet here. After 20 years, we all got together, and FTI and SRFTI had this thing. The ministry arranged it for us. It was a very emotional meeting for all of us, or for all of us. One thing which was discussed was now they're going to pay 5 CR to each to SRFTI and FTI, so that they will look after the students who pass out from these institutes, and they're going to see they give money for production, which is a huge this thing that the ministry is doing, and I hope this continues, because for art you need patron. Yeah.
Yeah, actually my next question was about this, but you have yeah. So I would also like to share the individual capacity that I'm doing as a filmmaker. So we run a film festival in Shillong called Kelvin Cinema Festivals of Film with Pradeep Kurba. And Pradeep Kurba is also is one of the pioneer of Meghalaya cinema from Meghalaya. His film is playing all over right now, and then it won in Moscow International best film, and three awards.
We should thank Nina. Nina is a good supporter of Northeast cinema.
Yeah.
She's here.
So we are running.
I think Barbara is also there, who is a great supporter for Northeast cinema. Thank you for
so
being
much.
here.
Yeah. So that's what we are doing. What we do is we really wanted to make one in Shillong. We wanted to. Our aim is to create festivals that could bring filmmakers from all over India, some of the best filmmakers, and then expose our filmmakers from the state to this, so that they'll be able to understand what's happening in India, And at the same time, we think that as a filmmakers, we also what we are doing is with Rapture. What we do is my producer is taking this film. We release in theater like that, multi-purpose theater. And then now she's taking films to all over the village for free shows, just to create an audience. I think it's very, very also important for our kind of cinema to let them also see that this kind of film exists, and then people are coming and watching this film. And then what happened is we think that by doing that, we are creating our own audience for our own kind of films, We are also changing that. So my producer is taking all the remote villages and screening this film. Yeah, so my next question is, which half of the things Pavan has already answered, but from the perspective of, when we are in the Film Institute, we see lots of great talents through their short films, through their diploma films, and it's like they're going to have like a promising career, because even their films will go to some good festivals. They'll be like revered even in the film school itself as a seniors or junior, And then after they pass out, either to take lots of time to make a film, or some of them that we really hope that they will make a film never end up making a film, So again, most probably, maybe it's a kind of a orientation that happened in a film institute, and maybe struggle for the funding and things like that. So you're talking about how the government is going to support this. You are in lots of committee, You're steering committee of IFFI, you're in lots of councils. So what are the things that we should be doing to help filmmakers? Because otherwise, going to film schools and then seeing this talent in the film schools and not being able to see their films on the screen, I think it's really a big loss and sad things to happen, So what should be done? I mean, apart from the decision that you have already made.
Yes, so, I'll start with documentaries. We have been talking about even Mumbai International Film Festival, it's a bilineal film festival, There we always discuss about forget about fiction feature films. We always we always have panel for the last maybe 15, 20 years. We always talk about, we will do this, that, and all. But then you know that, very hardly any forget about good documentaries. Hardly we are making documentaries anymore. Whatever good documentaries that is coming out of these countries, I mean, it's either got some grants from IFFI, but all these things are happening. So one thing I've realized is, you should not always. I mean, with Waves Mumbai, I attended that. There is a lot of hope. As I said, the ministry is giving money for this and also I know that for smaller places like ours, they are also trying to create small theaters where we can screen our films. This is something which I realized very lately, Dominic, because I have always made documentaries in my life. I just made 3 feature films, which are very recent. This thing. Then I realized need to, you put so much money and time, in the fiction, and there is also a pressure of getting that money back, Unlike in documentaries where most of the time it's funded by a broadcaster, or, you make it through some grants, and I never had that pressure to, get the money back. But then when you start making fiction films and fiction feature films, that pressure is there. And also, I think what is really needed is, we need the central ministry support, but at the same time, I think state governments also need to come in, and also as an individual, as a filmmaker, we also need to do our part. Because we can't always depend on the government for everything. It has to be a long process, how we can sustain ourselves. I'm totally against clubbing all of us together under one umbrella, Northeast and anything. But then, we need to come together as a reason to for the betterment of cinema. So that's why, when we have this panel, so I thought this will be a better this thing. Otherwise, our cinemas are so different. If you talk about Assamese, Meghalaya, even in Meghalaya also, Pradeep and Dominic make so different films. So yeah, so that way it's very different. But then when it comes in terms of all this, getting our finances, getting our films made, then taking it to the audience, we need to go deeper into this. And thankfully, I'm really, it's so good that SRFTI started producing courses. Earlier, we have this notion that producers are, we always call the finances producers, so this whole term has changed. And, one of my friend Alex is passed out from SRFTI, is first batch producing. So now we are looking at cinema, so we were forced, when we came out of the institute, we were forced to be producers, directors. But now at least, there are people, because I realize one thing, I can't think in terms of producing. I'm not someone who can, but then we are forced to do that. But luckily, there are a lot of graduates from film school now who can think in those terms. And they're really, I think they're the future for us. They can take the step forward and not just creating an ecosystem, but I think that we as a filmmaking community, I'm not talking about Northeast only, but India, we are very happy with what we have. Look at the smaller countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, and how they're making this alternate cinema. They're exploring the world. They're going to the markets. So, but then I see that most of us are quite comfortable working in Indian market only. So maybe Northeast filmmakers, we need to look at the way how Nepal makes their film, how Bangladesh is doing that, smaller countries, how they're working, navigating, because at the end of the day, we need to make our own films. And also there is a larger market. And I'm so glad that Dominic was able to, show his film in France. That was something quite inspiring for all of us, So, yeah, things like that. And I think the government of Assam, even Tripura is doing really well. They have come up with the film school and with the support of SRFT in Tripura. You know about Arunachal. So even I think Nagaland is also doing something like that. So slowly, things are slow, but then I think it's very positive this side of the country, unlike other side also. Yeah.
You want to add?
I'd like to add something different.
Please.
It's actually connected to the question that you were asking previously. So I feel when I was graduating, we have a very prolific professor in SRFTI, Putul Mahmood. She's my mentor. She has been teaching a screenplay writing for a long time. And Putul ma'am had said something very, that I consider very important. When she watched my film, she came out of the hall and she didn't talk about the film. She just told me that you cannot do this alone. She said, whenever you go back home in Assam and you make your films, you can never do it alone. you have to find people through whom it can be possible. You know, you have to find your own tribe. You have to find people who are exactly like you, who dream like you. And that instant, I was very inspired, you know, and I have been thinking about it for a long time since then, and I'm working towards it. And that's that exact same thing, you know, this was told to me by Putul ma'am, and Dominic showed it to me, and Pavanda showed it to me. You know, they have inspired me to make the film. You know, and they have pushed the film because they like it and they think it's a distinct voice, and you know, they connect to the film, and they have been helping me throughout. And I feel this is what I want to do when I go back, you know, now after this, after you know, my film gets screened, maybe in the future, in very, very near future, I want to do the same. You know, I want to inspire and work with new people who have new ideas and from our place, you know, and you know, inspire them just like you people have been inspiring me. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So at the film school, you are in your comfort zone. You have everything. Everything. You can
Yeah.
experiment without fear.
Yeah.
You know, you have whatever you need, you have it. But after coming out of the institute, your real struggle actually begins. And I won't say they are not doing or making films, but they are doing something maybe better for the film education.
Mm-hmm.
There are very, friend of mine's very promising. They are teaching, which is also very, very important part. And by now we all understood that it is a very responsible job as an independent filmmaker. When I say independent filmmaker, means we have no money to make film. So we have to raise a fund, first thing. We have to look for our own screening space. At least, like other parts of India, the struggle is like they are like in a very comfort position. But in Northeast India, we have to look for our screening space. In Assam, at least, we have a screening space. But other parts, there are no cinema halls. So creating cinema screening space, funds, plus creating the audience. So kind of responsibility we have as an independent filmmaker from the region is very, very, you know, challenging. And yes, it is always like this. Struggle is a part of our life as an independent filmmaker or as an artist of like not only in cinema, but in cinema there is capital involved. We need a lot of money to make films. So I think money is somehow we need to, you know, solve it. That's what I did. You know, when I wanted to make my film, I had no way how to make my own film. You know, I approached film producers. The same kind of script I took to one producer. He said, very, very art film. I cannot make it. Then I took the other one. He said, it's very, very commercial. The same script. So I was very clueless, you know, how to make this film. You know, they have two very distinct opinion on the same script. So one day I was very frustrated. I put a Facebook post like, I really want to make my film. You always say you are very promising. We want to see your film. So why we're not making film? So I said, I am making my film. Are you helping me financially? This is my bank account details. Seriously, I did that. And strangely, the first amount came into my account was 25,000. And people from all over the world, not only India, from one tea stall owner gave me 500 rupees to like Manish Mundra gave me 3 lakhs. Like that was the range. And that's how I made my first film, Bukul. I would not say that it is crowd-funded film. I never use that word crowd. I always said I'm still grateful to every single person who helped me emotionally, financially, any capacity. That was the collective support for the film, and that's what I think I need the most. The support. Not money cannot bring everything. Trust me on that. if you have support from people, your colleagues, your team members, that is the more, power. Alone, we cannot do anything in cinema. That's what I believe in. That collectiveness is very important. As all of us are saying, we need to support each other.
Yeah, I just want to add to this. We all made our first film like that. I also made my first film on my own because I was not getting any support. But then I got support from my own community. My classmate did the Sena did the camera. Then Sukanto now, who is the dean in charge of SRFTI, he did the sound. Sanko edited the film. It was a zero budget film. That's how we made. That community is very important. That support is very important. But I realized one thing. You can make 1-2 films like that, but not every film, and also to sustain, but audience, for me, audience is something, I know we need to create our own audience, but I think we can connect with people easily. It's just that I think the distribution system, it's because of the distribution and exhibition, and if we have theaters, people will definitely come and watch films. We are not letting them watch our films. That is the main problem. I think it's not just about notice, everywhere. And also one genre that I want to give emphasis to documentary is, this year I had my project at Film Bazaar. I thought I'll keep on making fiction films, but then I'm coming back to documentaries because maybe it was so inspiring, that story was so inspiring that I have to come back to documentaries. One thing I've realized is, unlike fiction feature films, this kind of, I also thought this whole thing about independent cinema, whatever you wanted to do. So I think it's, when it comes to, distribution and production, fiction becomes something else for me, But in documentary, you're really doing whatever you want, man. You don't bother. And the money involved is so less. Yeah. I realized one thing when I went to the market this time. People are asking for a lot of money, but when I went, I'm asking for very little. And then the help was enormous. That's what I realized this time. So, and with the coming of AI, I believe that reality cinema is the future, and people are going to get bored of fiction films, and yeah, you can look ahead to documentary filmmaking. And I think this is a good genre especially for smaller regions like ours. Wow. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, great point, Pavan. So what I want to add to it is that such great talents were there, and then they're not being able to make films and all this thing, is that maybe most probably what if there are some producers and who are hoping to produce film, is that I feel that they should go to Film Institute, watch their diploma film or short film, and then, because what happened in India is, what I realized doing international co-production, I realized most of the producers who comes to this independent film director, right? The producer themselves goes to the director and look at their work, and they said that I'm gonna support your film, I'm gonna produce, we're gonna work together. But India, most of the time, it's always opposite. Director, like going to the producers, and then, and there's this hierarchy and things like that. But I always feel that if somebody who wants to support independent cinema, maybe it's go to Film Institute, watch their short films, and see, if they can be part of that film when they get out of the Film Institute. That's one way of doing things. I feel like that. If I was a producer, I will do that. I'll go, I'll see the talent of that particular director, and I said, let's work together and make this film, because I had some kind of experience with international co-production. So with this, I want to open up for the house. So if you have any questions that you want to ask to anybody, please raise your hand. Already 4, 5 hands are there. So, okay. So maybe I take your...
Directors, they usually try not to go to the government. In Japan, the government doesn't support. So I can explain about Japanese, my Japanese friend can explain. So I wanted to ask, how about in India? So if the government is putting money, are they going to ask you many things about the script, about the genre of the other things that you are making.
That it should be done like this or like that, some sort of creative control.
Of course, because when the money is coming, the huge money is coming from the government, of course they are expecting you to make the film that maybe they like, or they expected,
True.
so.
Yeah. Pawan, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think it's very normal when someone is giving money. They might, there will be some. But also, I always take this as a challenge. It's not easy to make independent cinema because you're always talking about issues that affects you. I mean, if my films doesn't talk about my contemporary reality, then it doesn't make sense for me to make films. So there's always a way. So I've been to film school, so you should know how to navigate that. But then money is also important, so you have to balance it. I mean, somehow you should be able, you should get the money, but then you should be able to do that. And I think a lot of people ask me that question that way. That's why a lot of people think that many of my documentaries, how I was able to make all those documentaries with the government money, because I think I was doing something true. So, and cinematic language is something which I am really fond of. I want to, every subject has its own way of telling stories, and documentary enables you to do that. Unlike fiction, I think there is limitation. Unlike fiction, we don't have a limitation in documentary. And there are ways to do things in documentary, and you should be smart enough to do that.
You got the government funding, right, from the state? So do you want to share?
Yes, I have also received Assam state government finance for my feature film. It was a good experience. Yes, there is a procedure. You have to submit the script. There is a screening committee. They will select the script. They will invite you for a Q&A. And then they will, if they allows a grant money, they will definitely see the first cut. If there is any changes, they will ask for it. But my case, it was not very difficult because my narrative was very, very relevant and it was based on true events. So I had a very good experience, not much challenges. But yes, that is a part of the process, because they are putting public money and they are asking relevant questions in my case. Otherwise, I have not much experience working with government money. So, yeah, questions will be there, even if it is individual producers.
Creative control?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
No, in my case, it was not there. It was not there in this process, because in the selection committee there was the very eminent film fraternity members were there, so the process was smooth for me.
I just want to add, this is not about government funding. Even when documentary funding came to India, when dockage started, a lot of us was very reluctant, because the producers, BBC, NHK, they all came, and then they, first we felt very, they were like, we felt very, dictated in a certain way, but eventually we found ways to do that. And I think it's not just about government funding. Any producer would love to,
correct.
And I think that's part of the process. And now is the time that we work with producers, who understand cinema. And that becomes much easier when to make films,
I'd like to add, because I have not worked with government support in this sense, but I have worked with government support in film school. So I'd like to bring that it's very important to also understand that it's so difficult to speak and make films that we want to make outside of film school. But till now, film school has been a very safe space, and it is still quite liberal in the sense that we are still able to make what we want to make when we are studying in the film school. And that is again produced by the government, and we are making the films that we want to make there. So I think that is, again, another good thing about film school is film school produces your films.
Yes, I'll take that. Yeah? Yes?
Hello everyone, my name is Nehal and my question is regarding documentary films. As you said so documentary filmmaking is a growing niche, right? It's expanding. But at the same time, for our generation, attention span is going down. So how do you think that will impact the, the way documentaries are made in future?
Can you repeat your question? Make it a little concise. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so for our generation, attention span is going down.
Yeah,
But
okay.
at the same time, documentary filmmaking is an expanding niche. So how do you think it's going to impact, like the attention, decreasing attention span is going to impact the process of how documentaries are made?
I think, unlike fiction films, I think there should be, documentaries should be more entertaining. You know, people think that, sometimes they think that it's boring. But you know, there are different levels of entertainment. What entertains him and me is totally different. The definition of entertainment is very different, but I'm talking about the commercial aspects of fiction filmmaking should come into documentary so that more and more people watch it, because the subjects are very important. Most of the documentary subjects are very important. But also at the same time, documentary is, I think, what we so-called independent cinema is documentary filmmaking for me. So that is something which, I don't know how, the people will be making their own films, you know, expressing it in their own ways, and which is really good about documentaries. Yeah.
Yesterday I was in the flight, and then somebody was sitting beside me, and he was watching a film on the phone and talking about attention span. You know, I could see him forwarding the film like commercial popular film. Even that, they're like. He's watching. I'm like, what? I mean, they will never be able to watch the films that I make, you know? I mean, the only thing is that maybe most probably we need to slow down. I think we need to understand that even as a filmmakers, we need to make people take a pause. I mean, that should be like an intentional thing, you know? I mean, if there is 100 of them, maybe 5 of them will take a pause to look at it. I think it's an intentional choice that we should make, you know? You cannot just rush all of them because of the attention span problem. You cannot rush. We will just hit the wall and die there. So maybe we should, it's an individual work that we need to do. Yes, Brother Alex?
I have one more question. If I
No, we have lots of this thing. Sorry, but let's other people also ask.
Thank you so much, Dominic. I'm Alexander, the former Deputy Director of Indian Film Production, and also the former Director of Manipuri State and Film Television Institute. I would like to rewind ma'am's question here. I happen to be shooting most of the films in Northeast India for the Government of India, for NFDC Northeast. In no way we say, don't. In fact, we always say, do, let your creative flourish. Yeah.
Okay, that's a command. Yes, please. I thought that's a
You can
question.
hear it from Alex.
It's like, no. We allowed to do things. Thank you for the support, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, thank you so much, everyone. I'm from Northeast too. Like Assamese was my thinking language, but I live in Mumbai. And just give you the context, I have done ad films and done 25 documentaries for Big Magic. And Big Magic paid the money, but when you try and do on your own, it's very difficult. So my experience with a lot of institute people, FTIs we are working with, at times the flexibility is a big issue, you know? Like when we meet a producer or a celebrity to make the thing go at least at a scale when it can be released, then the flexibility has been an issue with the team I've been working with. Amazing people I love with my institute people. I've worked with
What do you mean by flexibility?
Say, for example, if like what she mentions, if attention span, they said people cannot hold. This is a little slow. Can you speed it up? So my teammate, you know, it's a little difficult because this has been an issue with a lot of FTIs I've been working with. So wanted to know, do you also experience the same thing, or are you willing to mold a little bit? Or this has been just my experience with people I've worked?
I don't know, since I have not worked with, I've only worked with people that I love to work with. So.
Like molding in what sense, you know? Like as we say,
Creative.
it depends what kind of story, what kind of narrative you are talking about. Your team definitely would support the director. But again, if you are saying like push it because the audience demands it, then definitely we are not trained to do so. Maybe there are reluctant comes. It's a stand. I stand by that too. Sorry.
But just tell us, these are the direction students or camera student or editing students?
My dear friend, he's a camera student but doesn't want to touch camera. We made a film which went to Locarno, Montreal, won prizes, but only pat on the back. It was not very viable. So we are working on a script right now, which has invited people. Like we wanted some celebrity face and a producer who can take it to the release level, but it got stuck at the creative level.
Yeah, so maybe
the director and the writer, he's my FTI friend. He's not.
I think we have to take this individual, because maybe I don't think technicians will have any problem when you're doing something. Maybe you're talking about individual
Writer.
direction writers or artists.
Yes, writing.
Yeah,
and
so that's something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked in NFDC and I was doing a corporate films, I mean, what I do is, for me, and I have to understand that client is at that moment is the God, right? Like when I do my own artwork, it's my soul. So I use all the things that I wouldn't use in my own film. So I don't think it's an individual thing. I feel like that. Yeah.
Even I have worked with, as a writer, I have worked with people who have, I have written 4 feature film screenplays outside of my film as a writer, and I prefer to be very flexible. Although I'm from a film school and I have a certain kind of cinema that I appreciate and I want to make, but when I'm writing for somebody else, I prefer to be very flexible. And I have written very, very commercial stuff. But of course, then there is always a line that you have as an individual. You have your own politics. Unless and until that politics is intact, about the style, about the way of telling things and about expressing. I mean, I feel that it is the, kind of a duty of a writer as a technician to mold himself.
Just to add to that, I have worked with my editor since my continuity days till now. So I think, I've worked with all my crews are all from SRFTI. There's always a line, after even structuring the film. So after a point, we will always have, but then after a point, he also realized, ki ho gaya. Yeah, then, he knows it's, at the end of the day, I take the call. So I think professionally that's taught in cinema film schools. And I've never faced any problem. But it's not that easy, but you have to go to that level and discuss things in a certain way. Yeah.
Maybe the flexibility needs to come from the other way, most probably. So one more questions we'll take.
Hi, my name is Rithi. So, working in regional cinema, do you think that gives you more freedom as a filmmaker, or does that create pressure to represent your culture in an authentic way?
No, it never creates a pressure for anything. I mean, when we say regional film, there's no such thing as regional film. It's a term that's been used to describe. When I make a film about my family. I make a film about my village. Like I'm working on a trilogy right now. I have done 2 films and I'm making my final film right now. So I'm working on the memories that I had in my village. So for me, I don't have any pressure on how to tell these stories because it's an individual expression that I want to share it with the audience, So there is no such pressure that we feel, and also, I think when we are making a film, we are not thinking about catering to specific audience. It's like we are making a film so that the world can watch it. And then maybe it get little, somewhere it's called regional cinema, somebody call it's from Northeast and this and that. That's what in the beginning I was saying that when the film is being screened internationally, it's never Northeastern film. It's never regional cinema. It's an Indian film. It's a film because we are not isolated. We are not part of some isolation, We are part of the world. So there is no pressure on it. Yeah.
When we are making films, it is in our own language, right? When you say regional, if I'm making my film in Assamese, that is my language. I'm making it in my own language. And when it comes to originality, what is originality? It is me, it is you. The kind of experiences you have, only you have. That is the originality you have. Otherwise, there is nothing called originality, right? Everything has been told. We all know it, right? So to make it original, when we talk about our thing, our own thing, self-expression is always, it is about us. There is no pressure for that. I'm talking about my story, my narrative, my experiences. So there is no present because I'm not representing. The concept of representation is now, I think, very dated. So we all are talking about our own experiences, our own worldview. So it is our story, our film, right? So there is no pressure.
I feel I would like to say the same thing from the other side of it, in a way that when we look at films, when you say regional cinema, a lot of people, a lot of my filmmakers from my generation and before, actually have suffered from this. What happens is that when they have the pressure, they're not actually able to make a good film. Good film in terms of a true film. They're not being able to say something which is real, which is something that they really want to say. In fact, it becomes a burden sometimes, and it actually disturbs the film. In the sense that, suppose I am making a film, and now I have to represent my Assamese community. If I think of it in that way, then I will always be, thinking about myself as an exotic community, and I will have to be using things so that, they should understand that I am an Assamese when they're watching the film. They should understand that there should be a, headgear that we have in Assam that should come somewhere. Japi should come somewhere. There should be, things that are supposed to be regional. That regionally Assamese, But there is no concept like that. I mean, when you are saying something that is your own, when you are showing what you see every day, those things will automatically come. There should not be a pressure as such. And that actually, hampers the storytelling in a lot of ways.
I'll just add something to that. Yeah. I think if you talk about practicality, when I went to, Manipur, those days, everybody went to Bombay. But then when I made my first feature, many of my friends are yet to make their films, So if you look at it, if you go to smaller places, you can easily, start making easily, it doesn't take up much time. In Bombay, you have to struggle so much and then make a film, you can do your own stuff at your own place. So the time gap becomes shorter. Practicality, you will become a filmmaker fast than your friend who is in Bombay,
So time's up. I mean, it's such an engaging thing. I wish I could take more questions and then discuss more. But our time is up, and thank you so much for making this very engaging, all of you. Thank you, Paban, Maharishi, Reema, and let's keep making film, and let's film from Northeast travel all around the world. Thank you all.
But I also want to thank you for, moderating this and at a short notice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah.
A sincere thank you to all our speakers for enlightening us with this inspiring insight into the Northeast cinema culture and the role of film schools in nurturing cinema's creative landscape. Thank you, dear audience, for joining us.